Hello and welcome to this video series featuring select single-player Far Cry Arcade maps that I built and published between 2020 and 2022. This was an excellent creative outlet for me during the COVID pandemic, and I wanted to showcase some of my proudest achievements here, and also walk through some of the creative processes that I used. Hope you enjoy. Tree of Life is a map that I published in early March of 2021. It took about 1 month to create. This is my first and only map that is based on a movie. There are other map creators who have built maps based on movies, and a lot of them are really excellent. There's some good stuff out there. For this project that I was doing, I decided to challenge myself and do something a little bit different, something atypical. What I decided to do was to make an action game that is not based on an action movie. The source material doesn't quite fit with the genre. So what I did was I chose a movie called The Fountain. It is a very visual movie with some unique storytelling. It came out in 2006. It's directed by Darren Aronofsky, and it's a love story. It's like a romance movie with some fantasy elements in it, and there are a few scenes that qualify as action scenes, but overall, it's not an action movie. So that was my own self-imposed challenge. I wanted to take that and make it into an action video game that you can play and hopefully enjoy. You start off the map at your campsite, it's the middle of the night, and some violence has happened, and you move on. You go in search of the Tree of Life, Eternal Youth. And you find yourself going through this cave system, which I included some branching paths in. This straightforward path will take you right exactly where you need to go, but there's also someplace hidden up here, and if you take this alternate path, not only do you get a different experience going through this whole section, but you get a bonus weapon as well. So that's kind of fun. That'll make things easier for you when you get to the next part. After the player emerges from the caverns, they're going to have to fight their way through this fishing village in order to proceed to the temple from there. Each of these huts that make up the village is different than all the others. There's something going on in each of them. A lot of them have items. A lot of them have enemy AI coming out of them. I adjusted the lighting so that when you enter, it brightens up a little bit, so it looks dark from the outside, and then your eyes adjust. You get that kind of effect. There's also a storm happening as you go through this entire sequence, and by the time you get closer to the end, then the storm stops and you can make the final approach to the temple from there. And that approach has some neat little effects. As you walk by, these flames light up. The movie that this map is based on takes place in 3 different time periods, past, present, and future, and they're all 500 years apart. The past segment takes place during the last years of the Mayan Empire, and the Spanish conquistadors are coming in. One of the protagonists of the movie, and the character that you play as, is one of those Spaniards. As such, I wanted to make sure that the weapons and the items that you encounter throughout this entire map are reflective of that time period. So all the weapons are bow and arrow, melee weapons. You get throwing knives and dynamite, and there's the one other hidden one. And that's it. That's all that there is to it. It's not perfect by any stretch, but it's the closest that I could get with the options that were available to me. When you make it to the temple, at first, you'll start to see the sun rising, because time progresses. That's a very important aspect of this map. I wanted to make that a organic and kind of natural feeling element of, as you progress through the map, time will pass and the sun will begin to rise. By the time you get to this point, and don't worry about this flame here, that spawns after the fact, then you'll start to see the sun rising behind this temple, and I think it's a pretty spectacular sight. I also set it up so that when you get to this boss battle here at the very top, now in the movie it's someone wielding a flaming sword, so here it's a flamethrower, thought that was fitting. I positioned the sun to rise and be showing directly through this chamber exactly as it was in the film. And then This is one of my favorite parts. After you're done with all this, after you make your way through there, you're effectively done with the game. No more combat. But then you go out and you find the tree itself. And I wanted to make this a visually splendorous moment for the player. They walk out of here, the sun is shining behind this thing, it's reflecting on the waters, it's serene, it's very kind of otherworldly, even. It's natural, but it's not. Just like it was in the movie. And this tree right here is not an asset that is available in Far Cry. This is a mishmash conglomeration of tree limbs, stumps, dead trees, and each of these leaves are a bush that I planted there. It's a shrub. Tons and tons and tons of them that I just painstakingly constructed this thing out of. But once you go through certain actions that I won't describe in too much detail for the sake of spoilers, then you're treated to an ending, which is the 500 years in the future part. At the end of the map, the player finds themselves in the future segment of the story. This is 500 years from now. You are traveling through space with this tree toward a dying star. It makes sense if you've seen the film. I included some props and items that are a little bit of a nod to the movie too. So those who have seen it will recognize it. You just do what you need to do. Things happen. And you reach a explosive endgame. There it is. Let's have a look, shall we?
PlayStation